Good. Let's ground for a moment. So please sit comfortably so you can close the eyes down. Connect with your breath first. Let the breath become effortless, slow and nurturing. May you feel into your body or any sense perception that brings you into the present moment, takes you out of the mind world into the present moment. All right. Blink the eyes open. That's a excellent little mini meditation you can do just whenever you remember during the day. Just remember your presence, being here, being alive. It's beautiful. Today I want to continue with the 6 realms teaching. So I had the introduction last week, and if you haven't heard what the teaching is about, please watch the video. Also for you guys, if you find it interesting, watch the video afterwards, and if you haven't watched it. And I will not repeat now, but I will summarize. So it's a tantric Buddhist teaching, and it wants you to come into real human presence. It's just another word for present experience, or to be in the here and now experience, and having no resistance to what happens. So most of the time we live with resistance to almost everything that happens, and the mind wants to change the current situation, the current experience. Something is not right about the current experience. And this teaching wants you to come back to letting go of the resistance and, in my words, coming back to the flow of life, being just all right, flowing around, accepting what's happening. That is the idea, the basic idea of this teaching. And then they have those 6 realms, which give 6 tools, or they give you 6 behavioral patterns you can recognize and then navigate out of that once you have realized, oh, I'm behaving like that. And today we look at the first 2 of those 6, maybe 3 if we have enough time. And I will open also the book and maybe read a little bit from the book, but also from my own notes and what I got from my teacher. And as I said last time, the realms can come, probably everybody is in all 6 of the realms, and we have some tendencies of being in one more present, and that can change over our lifetime. And you can come out of them anytime. So it's just a practice. It's also very quick to come out of that. So you don't need to freak out when you realize, okay, that's how I behave sometimes. It's very normal, and it's okay to be in a realm. You can even decide to stay in it if you enjoy it. It's kind of a subtle suffering you have normally when you're in a realm because you have a problem. You feel stuck or you feel a resistance to your current experience. But if that's still enjoyable, you can stay there if you want. So you don't have to come out. But there's a tool too. Okay, let's remember. I share my screen here again. Let's remember, here's the wheel of the 6 realms, and today we go into the first one, which is called animal realm. And originally it was thought that we live through those realms, like we are an animal and then we get reborn, reincarnated, and then we are a hungry ghost and we get reincarnated, and we are maybe a human and reincarnated, and we are a titan, like a demigod, and so on. But that's very original, old school, and later on the tantric caste changed it into, no, that's emotional or psychological behavior. And just for you guys to know, there are 6, and the first is the animal, then there's hell realm, hungry ghost, titan, human, and god. And we start with the animal. So what's that about? I will tell you. So I think I want to read from the book here, the first little thing. Do you see my book? No, wait, I have to change that. Here's the book. Okay, you see that now? Yeah, okay. So animal, so the first paragraph, I will read from the book and then we go into what else. The animal realm is inhibited by beings, and that beings means our behavior or our energy that behaves through us, who bark and bite at any intruder, protecting their turf and fighting to be left alone. They lay around in a lazy stupor, wanting to be petted and touched, but are afraid and skittish. Many of them are phobic about unknown things and chaotic situations. They want to settle into a cozy space of their own with predictable routines. Others are obsessed with dangers, afraid of demands of relationships and the unpredictability of having others in their lives. They long for love and attention, but are terrified of intimacy and responsibility. When we occupy the animal realm, our awareness is dominated by our desire to possess territory. Like animals attempt to bind and possess space with urine and growl and bare teeth, as animals, our favorite word is mine. All right, so that was the little introduction. You get already a little sense of it. So what animals do is they're mainly fearful. They live in a fearful state because they constantly think someone else wants to take their stuff or want to enter their territory. Other people, institutions, the tax office, whatever, just somewhere, someone outside wants to take your stuff and wants to come into your space where you feel safe. So you also create at the same time a strong need for comfort and coziness, and also structure and organization. So you want to have everything planned out. And you like to sit in your cave, in your own home, and because you are in control of that space, you have the keys to who is allowed to enter or not. So you have very strong boundaries normally when you are in that realm. And now let me mention that before you get too confused. This teaching is it's on a spectrum, so you can be very slightly in it, or you can very deeply be in it. And some of the things I will mention, like having boundaries, can be not necessarily be a sign that you're in the realm or that this is bad for you. It can be very healthy at the same time, because you're maybe in another realm or you're in no realm, and boundaries generally, for example, can be a healthy thing. I go into boundaries a little more. But I'm describing now the bit more leaning towards the end of the spectrum, the extreme of that realm. And if you tick more boxes and you think like, okay, that could be maybe a little bit over and doing it too much, then you could work with it. It doesn't mean that you have to take every single word like, oh, I have boundaries, so I'm an animal realm. No, you have to still have your common sense discernment. So because you're in quite a fearful state and you're fearful of others or situations you cannot control, or others entering a space where you feel uncomfortable. And often a result is also that you act in numbing yourself. So you have all those numbing techniques and avoidance strategies. And that could be also overworking, for example, or addictions. Addictions is a clear sign of animal realm, because it's leading you to a very routine, like a very repetitive, expected result you're getting. It doesn't mean that routines per se are bad. I'm just saying, like, if you're like doing it out of fear of not getting into an unknown situation where you feel like you cannot handle it because it's unknown and you're afraid of unknown. So you want to be in your cave where everything is known. That's the idea behind it. And numbing is one of those techniques that makes you not deal with emotions mainly, that you feel like not wanting to touch. You're still hungry for love and emotions, but you're too much afraid to touch them. And that's why you better keep in control and everybody at their boundaries, like at your boundaries, only on your terms. So you have a fear of actual intimacy, probably because you were like wounded in your past from relationships or whatever. So it has often a reason why, but maybe that reason doesn't serve you anymore in this moment. So there is, there's this fear of intimacy and still the longing for intimacy. And it's a contradiction. Thank you, yeah, contrary. And so that fearfulness comes with vulnerability. So you feel very vulnerable in an animal realm. You don't want to be hurt. That's why you're building those walls. And that's why you control everything in it, in your space. And with it comes also a fear of change. So generally you're just very difficult in changing stuff because you're like, as it is, at least it's familiar and I can deal with it. And if I change something, I walk into the unknown and then I'm out of control. So you rather accept pain if it's familiar than being in the unknown and you don't know what's coming. Because then you have to deal with emotions and you never know. And so, for example, pets are the best friends for animal realm behavior because they don't ask questions. And they don't judge you, and they're always with you, and they're not upset. I'm not saying pets are bad. When you have a pet and you love your pet, you're an animal realm. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. When you cannot handle people and only animals because they are not challenging your emotional states, then you're maybe walking into the spectrum of animal realm. Sometimes laziness can be a indicator, and it's unhealthy laziness. It's not rest laziness. It's like avoidance laziness. And also because you have a lack of energy, because you use so much energy for that fear and that walls and boundaries you have to hold up. So let's have a look at boundaries. When are boundaries healthy and when they're not healthy? When they're not healthy is when you push people away with your boundaries and you just create no circumstances that anyone can actually meet you and meet your real intimacy. That's unhealthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries is if you set your space, your agreement on, I need that as my space, but at my boundary, that's where we meet. You can imagine that like the farmers, when they had their sheeps, they had a fence between their plots, but they were meeting at the boundaries to speak and communicate. That's healthy. So at your boundary, you meet to communicate. And then when you feel safe, you can let them also into your space. But the boundary is to meet someone and not to push someone away. So what you actually believe is that you feel in danger if you interact or relate with other people or the outside world. That's why you're constantly in an alert mode. Okay, so the main root of that, and that leads, of course, to suffering, because you don't feel happy with that situation either, because you have no intimacy and you have a fear, and you're just in numbing mode all the time to not feel real emotions. So it's not only fear of intimacy of others, like relationship intimacy, it's also intimacy with yourself. And the root of that is that, so the root emotion would be fear of intimacy. And other emotions that popping up with animal realm would be anxieties, wish for permanence, like strong wish for permanence, stubbornness, and sometimes also you are too suspicious of others, almost like paranoid, that they want to steal, want to get into your territory. Lust can be also an emotion if it's overly present. Don't ask me exactly why is that in animal realm. Yeah, that's the instinct level, because you operate on a very instinctive level. So that is just this desire of having sex, lust, is uncontrolled. Which, if you look at animals, like they are just getting horny if they see another animal that's just somehow compatible. And in humans, that's different. We have the ability to control our lust. We can decide if we go for someone or not. So that's kind of the idea. In animal realm, you don't have control about that. And to make it a bit more relatable, I have some quotes I want to tell you. That would be then to identify the realm, which is the first important step, would be reflecting on your thinking and your speaking and your interacting with people. And the quotes would be some indications of figuring out if you're like in there. So you can also just jump in there in certain situations. And those quotes can help us, because in the end, we don't want to stay there. That's kind of stuckness, and that's not flow of life. You're constantly in that, if you're in that behavior, you're on the spectrum of resistance to life, because you're always thinking someone wants something and you're like alert. Can I trust this person? Do they entering? They are too close. They're not respecting my boundaries, and so on and so on. So quotes. I'm fine like I am. It can be a quote because it's like, don't tell me what to do. I have full control. Don't tell me to come out of my comfort zone, because that's where you don't want to be as an animal realm. So I'm fine like I am. I don't want to change. Fear of change. Fear of intimacy. Fear of touching someone, like in an emotional sense. Also, like, you're very resistant to critics or feedback, because that would mean someone wants to change your perfectly set up environment and how you build your safety. So you're very much concerned about safety. So every critics about it is like attacking your world and your view. This is mine, your favorite word, mine, because you're like territory. And if you actually strongly believe in that, then that's a sign of acting in that realm. Don't make me uncomfortable. Is also when you hang out with other, you love to hang out with the friends you know very well and who are also in animal realm. So they like to connect, because the gathering with those people is very soft. No one will mention anything that could actually create an emotion in the other people. So you don't want other people to feel uncomfortable. You don't want it for yourself and not for others. So you don't have to deal with them getting an emotion which is out of the norm. Yeah. So, yes. Don't make me uncomfortable, or don't. If it feels good, do it, because you want to have everything mellow. And I only invite people on my own terms and boundaries. Don't worry, it's all good. That would be an avoidance strategy. Shuffling it under the carpet. Like, we don't touch that topic. Don't worry. I'm good. I deal with it tomorrow. You push it away. So you're just avoiding intimacy with yourself and your emotions. You smooth over it and you laugh it off. That would be also a good sign of animal realm behavior. And you're a lover of routines. You just have perfected your routines because that gives you security and comfort. Okay, sometimes, let me see. Yeah, self-neglect can be also a outcome of that, because you're numbing yourself too much and you're not caring too much. Because then at some point when you care about yourself, you would need to touch those old wounds and you would need to go intimate with yourself. So self-neglect can be a side effect, unfortunately. And then with each realm we also have, and I'm stopping in a second because it's quite depressive, and then I tell you what to do. In each realm we have a spiritual facade. When you're like in the yoga world or like a spiritual seeker, you can also put a role on, a mask, which would be your spiritual character, and you're hiding the animal realm in that a little bit. So that would be the faithful devotee that believes that the guru is our savior, like my savior. So you do everything for your guru. You bow down to their feet and you bring them tea and everything because you hope that someone else will save you and get you out of that misery. You're somehow aware of it. Or the other side would be a hermit, someone that just lives alone in the woods. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if the reason is that you are fearing contact and not able to have real relationships. And then there's the attitude to practice. In each realm, we have an attitude to the practice, and you would only do the easy ones as an animal realmer if you are in that court. Because everything else will push you out of your comfort zone, and you never know what you expect then. So you kind of stay with the easy ones. That's what you know, that's fine. It's good enough. We don't need to get out. Okay, that was a lot, I know. Let's look at what do we do when we find ourselves in that. Maybe one or the other person of you got some memories or moments where you got yourself in that. I was doing that quite a bit in my life. I'm an introvert originally. I don't feel anymore so much introvert, but so introverts love that realm because that's where they don't have to speak with other people. Yes. So antidoting the realms, I was reading from the general antidotes on the last video. Getting aware of it is the first step. So it's self-reflection. And what helps is to make a little interference, a little pause. Oh, 1 second, there's someone coming. Making a little pause in your actions. And remind yourself of this teaching, of course. So this week I would recommend to you guys, for those 2 realms we look at today, to look at, am I doing this? If you're interested in that teaching, am I doing this? And go in the process of just reflecting once a day, maybe before you sleep, just go through your day and just remind yourself of how you did. Or when you catch yourself in the moment, then first step is making a pause and interrupt your habit, because you're very much of a habit person. So interrupting the habit. And if it's just a pause, that's already good and enough. And then in this pause, you have the opportunity to reconsider your next action or your reaction. And then you can do a pause again and feel, how did this change my internal state? So it would be stimulus, you get triggered, then your response, then you pause, and then you reflect. Or even better, you get your stimulus, you pause, then you respond, you pause again and reflect. So if that's possible, that's a great way. And getting aware is the most powerful thing of that antidoting for all realms, but this one especially, making those pauses. Then a second thing you can do is, you're very territorial. You really like your own space. And instead of hiding in that space, you open it to host. So you invite people in, and that can be a literal space, that can be your home, or a space where you normally, it's like my space, no one else enters, inviting someone to come in. And later on, you can also invite people into your internal space. So that's a bit more difficult, but open up to share how you feel, for example, or ask them how they feel, and let their answer coming in and feel them, like creating this empathy. So instead of hiding, it would be hosting. And then another antidote is to open and to learning something new. Because when we want to learn something, we really have to open ourselves to something that is not known yet. Because obviously, if you know it already, you don't need to learn it anymore. So if you learn something new you haven't done before, you step out of your comfort zone into the unknown territory. And that's, for animal realms, is not a nice thing. So just doing something different and learn and get curious. And that's also how we can expand and play with our boundaries a little more. It can be also learn how to communicate differently, like taking one of the communication models that are out there and seeing, like, how can I speak differently or relate differently. And then a very powerful one for the animal is also to lean into your edge, meaning out of your comfort zone. Testing what's happening if I'm doing what I actually don't like or don't enjoy, or I'm afraid of. Sometimes you enjoy that actually very much. But like leaning to the edge. You don't have to go crazy, just leaning into it and see what's happening here. Yeah, I mentioned that already, but let vulnerability be your armor. That's what my teacher said, and I really love that. That's why I put it down here. So you let people in and show your vulnerability, and that can open so quickly a connection to someone else. Maybe you guys, when you want, tomorrow we do a sharing circle, for example. If you've never done one, and for animal realms, there's nothing they want really, but in a sharing circle, you just share how you feel or what's going on in your life. And you see, if you do that often, you do that with strangers, or in your city, you can look for sharing circles. You will see how quickly you can connect to a human being on a very nice, deep level if you just share something you actually don't want to share because you're open and you show vulnerability. Like share some of your suffering or your pains. So when you start to work and antidote this realm, what will happen is that normally that realm takes a lot of energy from your life energy. So we have a certain amount of life energy every day. And maintaining this behavior of being in that realm takes energy. And when you start stopping that, then you have suddenly this energy available for yourself to enjoy and to flow. And normally signs to see that you get out of the realm is often the opposite of that realm. So in this case, we call that purification. When you start working with that and you're slowly getting out of that into real human presence, you feel more normally compassion for others because you suddenly relate to them. So compassion generally, overflowing boundaries. So you don't care about your boundaries anymore because you see how beautiful it can be to loosen them. And harmony, a feeling of harmony with other people. and yourself, like it's always internally also directed. So just harmony of relating. And there's a nice little interbeing. Interbeing is, here's a little story. So interbeing is a description, and Thich Nhat Hanh hatte so that explain it like this: the interbeing of a rose and a garbage. A rose appears beautifully and pure, and garbage ugly and smelly. Yet, in a matter of weeks, the rose will wilt and decay and become garbage, and the garbage may become flowers and vegetables. So looking at the rose, you can see the garbage, and looking at the garbage, you can see a rose. And he means that with interbeing, that both sides can be seen in both sides, basically. So you can see, if you look at garbage, if you see yourself in the animal realm, you can already see the opposite, the rose growing out of that, the harmony, the compassion that is kind of trapped as the opposite. So that's just interbeing is released as an ability for yourself when you slowly work yourself out of animal realm. Okay, are there any questions to animal realm?
Be like one of the realm, or one of the subjects that you said, which you like list maybe 7 different things? Or
they're all together the realm.
Together?
Yeah, all together, all.
Yes.
Yes. So if you check the box at all of them, then it's quite sure you're in the realm. If it's occasionally one or two, it's just a matter, does it affect your life strong enough for you to want to get out of that? And if not, don't worry. But if you feel like, yeah, that's me, that's me, and I actually, yes, I feel stuck in that, and how do I get out of that? If that's your experience now, me talking through the realm, then do those little things. And actually, there was one exercise I wanted to share too. Sorry, I forgot. An antidote, a partner meditation. So because you're in fear in general for real intimacy with others and with yourself, it would be nice to sit in front of a partner. And I want to share my screen again because that's a very nice picture here. So just imagine 2 people sitting in front of each other, and it can be a good friend, it can be a partner, it can be anyone, literally a stranger in a workshop or a yoga retreat. And you just sense you sense a connection from heart to heart. But what you do is, and it's written here on the side, if you want to read that for the online people, to with closed eyes to feel where is your personal space ending, and then to move closer or further away from that partner and feel the subtle idea of a boundary. And then also see what happens if you come a bit closer, like open the eyes and come a bit closer and go a bit further away, just to get a sense of boundaries. And then change the frame, meaning imagine this person would tell you, they wrote in the book, this person is angry with me. Look at them and imagine you're angry with me. And then how you feel towards them. What it does to you when you believe that or when you think that. And then you change the frame. The frame is anger. Now you change the frame and say, this person loves me. And see how that makes a difference of your boundary also, like how you feel connected with them. Just changing your mindset about the other person, how that influences your experience of the other person. Or this person is a friend and someone I can trust. And then end on a positive, pleasant assumption of the other person and just be with them for a time. That's kind of the meditation, like from heart to heart. Could be a nice antidote. You all find that in the book which I shared in the last video. Opening the heart of compassion. Because in the end, this teaching is strongly create more compassion for yourself and for others and the world. That's really the key teaching behind it, but also to get yourself back into the flow of life. But that's almost the same thing. If you're in flow, you have no resistance to life, so you're just very compassionate about reality. Okay. And there's one more thing I want to tell you can do, and that is sending wisdom. So there's one thing we can do. We can send emotions, and this one would be a wisdom for self-reflection to everyone else that is in the realm. So you do that for yourself to get out of the realm, but you're sending wisdom of self-reflection to everyone else that is in the realm and yourself. And just that pure act should already elevate your way out of it.
Is that by using your intention?
Yes.
In a meditation?
Just intention, meditation, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I can do an affirmation, I send wisdom to everybody, and then you sit with it and you feel it and you connect with that idea, with that intention. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next realm, and I see we will not meet 3 realms in this session, but 2. All right, so the next one. Do you have a question?
Can you say all 6 just so that I
Yes.
can...
Animal, hell realm, we will do next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It's
Is just a translation issue. We don't have a better word for it. Narakaloka. Use Sanskrit words. Then it doesn't feel you deep. Titan realm, in short, high achievers that want to get self-worth through achievements. Then we have human mind realm, the need to understand everything and only living in the representation of reality instead of reality. Then we have God realm, in short, superiority complex, you being more special than everybody else. And then we have hungry ghost realm, you are not enough and you cannot stop buying things and getting the newest gadgets. You are constantly hungry for the next experience. Yes, so those are the 6 realms. Okay.
So can you be have almost like a foot in lots of different realms?
You can be in all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's good not to be in any. It's good to
yes.
belong to one.
Well, good.
And then you're like, then nothing.
Depends.
Should you be out of every?
Yeah, it's more fun to live life if you're out of all of them,
Okay.
because you don't have a resistance to life. You just accept whatever's happening. Like it doesn't mean you don't have emotions, but you can get angry because someone did something you don't like to you. You can still be angry, but you don't have a resistance to being angry with
That's
them.
the bit that I am probably resisting or I'm not grasping.
Yes, that's
The not resisting. Because
Yes.
if you say for example, I don't like the temperature in this room.
yeah.
What happens is that, I mean, on a very basic level, say I
Yeah.
prefer it warmer or colder or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that the resistance, or I'm just not grasping?
Yeah, well, no. So you're still allowed to change your environment and to make your life pleasant. Of course, you strive for that. Lovingly, pleasant, enjoyable. But if it's not possible, you don't freak out. So if you not have control over the temperature in this room or your emotions that come or whatever, you're still okay with that and you're still in peace, or you still at least find a way of also flowing with that. Yeah. Yeah. And actually it's quite cold.
So you don't move through realms, so you don't like go from animal realm to it's more like
You can be in
characteristics.
3 of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You don't move from one to other, but you have tendencies, and most of the time you're in 1 or 2 dominantly,
Okay.
and occasionally in the other ones. And yeah.
I'm definitely in this animal realm.
Do you have like a spreadsheet? Not a spreadsheet, like a doc that you can
Yeah,
send, like the breakdown?
I do have, but it's not finished yet.
Oh, did you create this?
The document, yes. The teaching I got from my teacher
Oh,
2 years ago, yeah.
It's Buddhism, isn't it?
Tantric Buddhism, but the teaching, I got it as a tantric version,
Right.
meaning yoga, tantra yoga version.
Yeah.
Let's go because we're running a bit out of time. Hell realm. Dangerous. I know. It gets better, don't worry. Okay, I share my spreadsheet here. So in Hell realm, you are concerned with righteousness, anger orientating from a sense of victimization, and impatience with the unpredictable nature of the world. So you also imagine the world is just against you. Everything is very unfair. And you are a big victim of the circumstances and of life. It's not a nice place to be in. It feels like hell. That's why it's called Hell realm.
Yeah.
So you have a deep belief system of victim mentality. And let me get this straight. You can be a victim of circumstances, but you can cling on that victim story longer than needed. And that's the problem. So when you get, let's not take the worst example, when you get dropped on the street, someone takes your stuff, you're clearly a victim and you have the right to get your stuff back, for example, or to go to the police and get a prosecution or whatever. So it doesn't mean we want to avoid being a victim, or we deny reality of someone did something bad to us. That's not the point. Victim can be a victim, but you cling longer onto the story than needed, and you make your life more miserable. So in that example, you got stolen, you went to the police, you did all the steps you could do, and then your stuff is not coming back because this bloody thief just disappeared. Then if you like a year later still cry every night about your lost things, it doesn't help you in the process. So you have maybe a time of grief. In that case, maybe a day is good. But who knows, maybe there was like your savings from the last year. So grieve as long as you need to grieve, but at some point drop the victim story because you cling on that victimhood.
how about inequalities? Let's say women's rights.
Yes.
And let's say,
Yes.
you know, we owe a lot of gratitude to previous generations of women who have suffered a lot for us now. To
Yes.
kind of equal rights, and still a lot to complain about.
Yeah. Yes. So the problem is it will affect your contentment and life quality if you feel, especially in stuff like that, if you feel being a victim for things you cannot change. It will affect your life quality tremendously, and especially with things that are far outside foreign governments, conspiracy theories, theories often are like international multi whatever, and you cannot do anything about it, really, like that little. So do as much as you can, but you don't need to feel like a victim while working against what is wrong in the world. You can still feel very empowered, very present, and very happy with your life, and still do something for people like you, in that sense, like your community, your being a woman or whatever. You can still say like, this is wrong, let's do it better, but still not feel like a victim and compromise your life quality. Yes, let me read from the book again.
And I suppose it would be like if somebody was sort of saying, you know, this always happens to me.
Yes,
These sorts of, you know,
exactly.
always being, people are always doing such and such to me.
Oh no, yeah, there is nothing to read. Okay. Yeah, good. Let me just continue with my notes. What we also do is, because life is difficult and everything works against me, you have that strong belief, you're the victim of circumstances. And maybe if you have a quite realistic look, maybe it is like that, but the story doesn't help you to get out of that. That's the slight but very important difference. Maybe you got unlucky, but it doesn't help to feel unlucky all the time and to feel like a victim, because you will never get out of that anymore.
How do you get someone out of that? Because I feel like my mom is a bit of a victim.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. So what our brain does, and it did it to me very much, it compares when I go through the list. You compare yourself to that list and the close people you know in your life, and that's very normal. So don't worry too much about that, and it's okay. But I would recommend, don't push that teaching too much onto others. You can maybe send them my videos, but it's better to, because it easily gets into, that's their trigger points. It's not easy to teach them getting out of that. And sometimes we're also projecting, and then it's a mix, and then it gets difficult, and especially with family. But it's nice to recognize it at others, because you see that behavior, and then you see, every time you recognize it at someone else, you look at yourself, do I do that too? And that's nice as a reflection. But it's normal that you try to compare others. So because you live in a quite painful way, blame is a common effect you do in as hell realm behavior, because you pass on the pain to the others and you blame others for your misery. So you don't take responsibility over your own circumstances or internal state. You blame the outside world or others or yourself. Wonderfully, you're good in blaming yourself.
So helpless and hopeless.
Yes, helpless, hopeless, powerlessness. And you almost lick on your own wounds. So that's how you keep yourself stuck in that realm. You have a lot of self-pity, and you're like, I'm the poor one. You make yourself a victim of yourself or of the circumstances. And you lick on the old wounds, because there probably was something that was unright in the past. But as I said, it doesn't make sense to stick to that story, but you lick on the own wound. And that's how you feel alive, at least, unfortunately. So the root of the suffering is resistance to reality and to flow. And you feel very separate to everything else, because that constant struggle and fight with everybody in the world is creating separation. No one is with you. It's not a nice place. So your pure existence is even problematic. You almost believe that something is wrong and terrible with yourself or with the world, or both, actually. So,
No wonders.
and then sometimes you're also addicted to control in that one as well, because you're rather, why did I write that? Addicted to control. You're rather evil than powerless. So sometimes you, to control others, especially, exactly, that's why I wrote it. So as a leading position or something in business, or you can really work that out. You have realm tendencies. You're like, the pain you carry inside, you give to the others. They have to feel that too. They treat me unfair, so I do that too.
I feel like teenagers.
Teenagers.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
they can get stuck here.
Yes. And unfortunately, you also create strategies to victimize other people. So you're not alone. And then, so it's an unpleasant experience to be in. And often that also ends in loneliness and lack of connection, because you constant struggle with everybody else. And in further down the spectrum, we have the emotions of anger. So anger is a state where you're often in. Hatred, anger turns to hatred. Bitterness at some point, if the hatred is over, you're just bitter and maybe even depressed, because you don't see some way out. And this constant dwelling in resentment. Guilt, shame, maybe also. Quotes, how can you realize you're in the realm? Why me? For God's sake.
It's literally doing that in the airport.
Yes. Victim behavior is very tricky to find. So I also was in this realm, not so deep, but you don't see it if you are a victim. You just believe that actually the world is against you. You don't see it that it's your story you make artificially, like you place superficially on top of it. This is not fair, and it was their fault. This is not fair. You're very much about righteousness as a hell realmer. That's why you say this is not fair, and you also fight for fairness. So if you fight for a woman very strongly, you see unfairness because you have experienced it in your life probably, and you want to bring more fairness to the world, which is nice, but because you feel the unfairness. And that's not a nice feeling to be in. That's why we want to get out of it. So we have resistance of how the world is. And to be fair, the world is quite a strong, intense place with everything that happens, especially nowadays. I mean, I think every generation was saying that. I cannot imagine like 100 years ago, it was probably even worse. But we are on the edge of multiple wars and I don't know what. So it's easy to see unfairness. And there's a lot of unfairness and judgment. Injustices, yes. So you still are allowed, even if you don't be in that realm, to fight for more fairness. But don't get stuck with that mentality of yourself being a victim. Okay, I didn't deserve this. How can I prove it? I'm under attack and I need to fight back in order to save myself and the world. Yeah, you want to save the world also, but that's another thing. Yeah, and I believe one of the root emotions is I'm not good enough. But yeah, the universe is against me. I simply try to mind my own business and everything is pulling, pushing, and beating on me. There must be something wrong with me. Something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with you, because otherwise you wouldn't do that to me. Victim behavior. You should have the shoulds. You should not have done this. You should have done this. Righteousness, blaming, the blaming game. You deserve to suffer like I was suffering. Ooh, yes. I know some people who deserve to suffer like I did because they did unfairness to me. Spiritual facade. I feel not worthy of the divine. And you seek an intense or painful practices to get rid of your own sins. Yeah.
Like, what would that be?
Beating yourself up internally with thoughts, being roaming in pain emotions, beating yourself up emotionally, like I have deserved to feel bad, and painful practices to push it to the edge so you actually feel pain, better pain than nothing, kind of thing.
Would self-harm be in there?
Yeah, definitely. That's the far edge. So I explained it in the first video. the far end would be, we call it nowadays mental illness or a mental disorder. That would be the far end. And somewhere on the spectrum, you would hurt yourself. Yeah, or strongly physically. Yes. And lastly, the attitude to practice is, it's so difficult, it's even torturous. I don't want to do it. Or the environment is inhospitable. That would be the victim story again. Like, I can't practice because it's the wrong circumstances. The world is against me. Okay, guys. This is the hardest video. The next rounds are a bit softer. You're doing well. Check. Oh.
So how many are there?
6 rounds. Yeah, how do we get out of this? So I'm sorry, I'm a bit longer than an hour today, but it's important to do the antidotes to know how to get out of it. So generally, that's also for every realm, but especially for this one, and I say that with a little disclaimer, before you work out of a realm, sometimes for some people, and maybe not for you, it can be good to consciously go in it, recognize that realm behavior, but then also feel the realm before you try to change and get rid of it. Sometimes you have to live through it before getting out of it. For some people, that can be a good step. So it's not a general recommendation, but for some, it is necessary to first feel and then, okay, I'm really done with that.
Yeah, like feeling it and then releasing it.
Yes. Like go to the point where you actually have the strong desire to get out of it. Especially in a hell realm, that can be a bit tricky because it's a painful place to be already in. And then, but you need to feel, like we had this one person, he said, like, I feel lonely. And I said to him, feel that loneliness. You have to feel it once because you're so much afraid of it. You push it away. At some point you have to sit and feel lonely, and then you can overcome it. Or you feel not loved or you're not enough. You have to feel that. But you're already aware you're in a realm. So it's kind of a controlled, so it's not going unconsciously into intensifying the suffering. So that then afterwards you can authentically move forward. Good. What do? We embrace emotions of patience and forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves first and forgiving others. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is that we make peace and that we have grieved. It's not excusing the other one that they hurt us. So someone hurt us. And we are not saying that was right. Forgiveness doesn't say it was right that we got hurt or that the other person did that to us or ourselves to us. But we say it happened and now we grieve it. And when we went through that process, we say, okay, now we are done with it. We don't let that still inhabit us because it's not serving us anymore. That's real forgiveness. And then we can open again, maybe to that same person or to ourselves. And then compassion can come because then we feel also maybe for the other one, because most people don't hurt to hurt. It's 1%. I don't know. Is a psychologist here? Do you know the number? How many people have actually mental disorders that they don't know that they're hurting people? It's a very low number. Psychopaths. They're called psychopaths. It's a very low number. 1.3% in society are psychopaths. They don't realize that they hurt people. Most people try to avoid hurting people, and they're just trying to get what they want or be loved or whatever, and in that acting they hurt. So it's unconscious or unintentional at least. And patience is sometimes needed, and that's a hard one because it's while you're working through the pain, you need to be patient with yourself. That this is a slow process.
That's the really hard bit.
Yes. Yeah, patience. Okay, another one which is a bit more easy to grasp is taking 100% responsibility of your actions and your feelings. Take responsibility over your life and your actions. That's antidoting, countering the victim story. Even if you were a victim in your past, now take responsibility over it. Someone stole your money on the street. Now take responsibility that you feel what you feel. You feel angry of this person. Take responsibility over that feeling. And take responsibility over that you got stolen and that you at some point want to let go of that. So you move on. Also take responsibility over that. Becoming free of blame. So catch yourself when you blame others and stop doing it. It's a habit. It's a mental habit. You can stop blaming people. It's a learned habit. It's nothing that is inherent. Then changing viewpoints, and that is important. And you can do that easily. Well, no, as a hell realmer, it's very difficult for you. But putting yourself into the eyes of someone else and then of someone else. It's best to not only do the one you think treated you unfairly, also use a person that is neutral, a third person or entity. Or even like, sometimes it's super stupid. You could be like, I have an argument with my partner in my house. I take the perspective of my partner, try to feel like how they feel, how they see me. Of course, my own perspective, and then of the house where I live in. And then I see, okay, how would the house look at those two people? It sounds funny, but it's crazy how effective it is. It's like, okay, there's one person screaming to the other person. They have one story, completely understandable. They have another story, completely understandable. They too. They love each other, but they misunderstand each other. They scream at each other. I'm not affected by that. I'm the house. I'm okay with that. You suddenly realize, like, oh, I would be the house. I would be okay. Yeah, so a neutral position can be also another person.
It's almost like you are not there.
Yeah, so when you're in the hell realm, you cannot but think of your hell realm perspective, meaning you feel like the victim in this one. Changing perspective makes you see there is another possibility of seeing this whole happening, this whole situation. And you might consider that your view is not the only truth, and maybe it's not even true. Maybe it's just one story you made up. That's the change of perspective.
Sorry, do you think like hell realm people then might create animal realm people?
Do you understand the question at home, or should I repeat? Okay, yeah. Do hell realm people create animal realm people?
Because an outcome from being brought up by somebody in the hell realm would be somebody who feels very hurt and wants to isolate themselves and not build a lot of walls and...
Yeah, good thinking. I believe that could be possible. Never thought about it. Okay. Seeing change as aliveness. Because you are in fight with existence and the universe, for you, life is constant struggle. You don't enjoy being alive. You wish to not be alive because then you have peace, finally. No pain anymore. So aliveness is that what you're not familiar with. So you change, and you're in constant change because you fight against the world. Change is aliveness. If you change your perspective of seeing what happens, constant change, and everybody like wanting something from you, and you're overwhelmed all the time, fighting against the others, unfairness, everything is in change. And that is aliveness. Aliveness is beautiful. It's beingness. It's very essence, close to our essence. It's like experience. That's why we're here. That's why nothing is static. So seeing that as aliveness, and aliveness as something beautiful, flow of life. And then to drop the victim story, Byron Katie made the work, and that's recommended to dive into if you're deeply in that realm. If you're deeply a victim, then go to Katie Byron and do the work. It's a book. Okay, what not works in Hell Realm is that you feel stuck because everything is against you. So you want to go into flow. So do everything that creates and supports flow in your life. Literally flow and you feeling in flow. Meaning go into the water, swim, do vinyasa yoga with a lot of movements and breath, not like today. Yes. And there's a practice called energy circuit practice. Because we are running out of time, we don't do it today. Imagining the flow of the energies in your body. I did tell someone this energy circuit practice. Maybe I do a meditation and record it so you guys can see that. And there's a microcosmic object. So imagine a flow of energy on your spine going up, going over your head, in front, down, and just meditate on that flow. It's another way of making flow. Yeah. Trust into that natural flow of life. It will serve you with what you need. And focus much more on what is instead of what's wrong. So what you're grateful for, like gratefulness book every day or something like that. So what you already have and what is working, what is already in flow. And your body is a good tool because it's always in flow. Your blood is always pumping. Yeah. So moving, dancing, free dance. Come Friday, we do dance. Relax and surrender. Also, Hell Realm is a constant struggle like animal, and you're alert all the time, so you want to relax and you want to practice surrender. That's very beneficial. And finally, sending love to all who are stuck in that realm, including yourself. The quality of love is the emotion we want to foster. Okay, when you get out of that realm, you feel that in an unconditioned flow and ease in your life, more flow and ease. You feel more alive. You have more gratitude for the things that are. And you start to be able to forgive others, even institutions, even men who treated women so many centuries bad because they didn't know better. And they're slowly learning, and we have grieved as a woman. And now we are done with being the victims, but we don't need to carry the story on. We don't need to still be victims. We just behave like not being a victim. Just an example, because here's someone that said she's connected to that. Unerschütterlichkeit, unperturbability. How is that pronounced? Unperturbability. Yeah, steadfastness. Yes. So.
Perturb is.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're just you're not shaken too easily anymore. If that's the case, that's a clear sign you're moving out of it. Good, guys. We are already a bit over my hour, which I aim to normally. Are there any questions or comments?
Very useful to see tendencies of it. It's,
It's a bit like a personality test. Kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so don't make yourself too crazy if you realize you're acting in one of the realms. You are not the realm. You have learned a behavior from society, wherever from, that makes you act like animal realm. And as you act, you can just unact. It's a learning process, but don't worry, you're not like lost. You're not a lost case. You're a little bit stuck in your behavior maybe. And that's all right. That's the way of getting out of it. It's recognizing it. As soon as you recognize it, and I said that in the first video, there's no reason to punch yourself up internally. Oh, I am so stupid, I'm acting again like a hell realm. I'm stupid again being this animal. Doesn't make any sense. Be kind to yourself. Have a lot of compassion. It's like much more like, oh me, I'm acting again. How interesting. And oh, compassion to myself. Not as a victim. Like, oh, poor me. I'm so poor. I'm so poor. Please, Guru, save me. No. Just kindness and compassion, patience. It's not your fault. It's not my fault that I'm here. But now I realized I don't enjoy that actually. Okay, maybe I work getting out of there. That's the attitude. All right, then let's close this. I'm very grateful for you online that you come, and some of you like every week. It's very beautiful. I feel connected. Oh, hi, Katie. Oh, is that Katie? Ah, soul yoga. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, close your eyes for a moment. Come back to a body sensation or to your breath, to feel into what we call real human presence, that beingness that shines through, that holds all of our experience, all of our sensations, emotions, thoughts, everything. Namaste and wonderful evening, morning, or day, wherever you are.